What's going on, y'all? I got a programming solution here for average of values. First thing, I want to make sure I have the include statement, particularly the IO stream statement, so I can output some information to the user. The username space std for the cout statements that I'm going to use, and then of course the int main function with the return 0 to terminate the function, to terminate the program at the end of the console. In the console. So first things first, I need a constant variable that's an integer. I'm going to call it divisor. This is the number that it's going to be divided. This is the number I'm going to use to divide to find the average. Okay, so this is basically a number that is not to be changed throughout the program because there's a constant keyword there. If you try to change it within the program somewhere in here, you're going to get an error when you try to compile it because there's this constant keyword there. Right? Next thing I need to do is create some integer variables. So real quick, inside a program, you have the input, you have the process, and then you have the output. All right, this is the basic form of a program. You get some information, you process the information, whether it's calculating it or whatever, and then you output the information. So in the input, there's really nothing, there's information that is given to us or that we provide instead of getting it from the user. So we're just going to provide that information. So in this case, it's going to be some integer variables, and it's going to be numbers 1 through 5, I'll say. So here's the number 1. And I'm just going to copy this and paste it a few times. So we're going to do 5 times here. So number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5. Just like that. And I'm just going to change these numbers around. 98, 76, 100, and then 77. Okay, so at the end I need to make sure to put that semicolon there to, okay, so basically I'm declaring these variables and initializing them with a value. So I'm basically telling memory, hey, create this chunk of memory that's an integer, and that's of an integer type, which is however many bits or bytes or whatever. So you see that there's an so inside that chunk of memory, there's this number, right? And if there's no constant variable, these numbers can be changed anytime within the program. Okay, so this is the input, the information that I'm getting or that I'm providing, or if it's a more complex program where you're asking information from the user and they input it at the terminal, imagine that this information is inputted by the user. But in this case, it's a simple program, so we're not getting anything from the user, right? So we'll just say that that's it right there. So the process portion of the program is the calculations. Okay, what we need to calculate. So in this case, we need to calculate the sum. So I'm creating another variable, an integer variable called sum. Well, in this case, let's see. Yeah, I'll just call it an integer variable. Call it sum, and I'm gonna set it equal to numbers. These numbers added together. So it's gonna be set equal to number 1 plus number 2 plus number 3 plus num 4 and plus num 5. All right, just like that. So that's the sum. And the next thing we obviously have to do is get the average. So I'm just going to put a comma here and create all this declaration and just create it all in one. So here's another integer variable, and it's going to be called average. And that's going to be set equal to the sum divided by the divisor. All right, so that's the end of that. So I got these two variables that are being processed, which basically means that they're being calculated into something from previous stuff that we've already, previous variables that we've already initialized. All right, so we're using these variables as calculations to get this information into that variable there. All right, so we got the sum, we got the average. Next thing we do need to do is output that information to the user. So here in the output, we use a cout statement, and I'm going to put an end line, And then here I'm going to say sum equals sum, that equals that variable, line break. And then here I'm going to say average equals average. And L, and then put another line break. All right, let me make this a little bit neater. Perfect, like that. Okay. So that's quickly line for, I think the program. We'll see what happens when we run it. So next thing, so all right, got the input information, got the process information, got the output information, and that's it. Next thing I need to do is run the program, compile the program to make sure that it's doing what I want it to do. So over here in the Explorer, this is the file that I'm putting this entire program into. It's called 00.cpp. So here I'm going to right click and go to Open Integrated Terminal. And it's going to open a terminal for me down here that has the directory, which is the folder that has this file that I'm working on in it. Okay, so they're saying that there's problems already. So I'm just going to show you guys something real quick. In the terminal, I'm going to go to compile it. So compile it, I'll say C++, and then I'll put the file name and then hit enter. Okay, so here's what the error message is going to look like if you have an error in your program. So usually that very first one at the top, because sometimes you'll get a whole bunch of them, right? But the one at the top is usually the one that's the fixer of it. All right, so this says line 22, character 47. So if we go to line 22, which is right here, and we go to character 47, it says right here that we're going to need a semicolon, but I already know that I need these angle brackets in there to fix the problem. All right, so the problem is fixed. There's no more problems right there. I'm going to come back over to the terminal. I'm going to clear this out here, type in clear, hit enter. Then I'm going to go to compile it again, C++, and then put the name of the file, hit enter. All right, so there's no more errors. Okay, next thing I need to do is run the program. I'll hit ./a.out, enter. All right, here's the sum and here's the average.